heading home and I witnessed a really bad head-on collision. It was the beginning of a long journey for me. I met Erik. He's a first responder, and I remember him walking up to me. The advice he gave me really hit home.
And what happened to me following that night was I couldn't sleep anymore for a while. I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. Right now my brain it's got a cast, broken dish, a slamming cupboard, a smell of a burning tire. The list can go on, which triggers me to go back into these scenes, knowing these warning signs of PTSD. And what I say they are is change. So me and my family, what we do a lot, especially when we're sitting at dinner, is we talk about why we matter. If we could get our stories out, and if people will listen, maybe we could help somebody.
Hi everybody. I'm in the office today doing lots of book work. I'll go slow because I don't want to make anyone dizzy. So I cleaned the office the last couple days, but it doesn't seem to stay very clean. This video is something that is a bit different than what we normally show. Before, our previous videos have showed life on the farm, the things that we're doing every day, things that we enjoy, a day in the life. But there's also the side of us that we also want to keep sharing, the side that many don't see every day. And I'm very proud of my brother for sharing a part of his story, for sharing his story, for sharing his challenges. My brother and a friend who he met during a very tragic and hard time in his life, someone who's helped him, but also is undergoing some of his own challenges and going through his journey. And so I'm very grateful for them for sharing the story, because we know that by sharing these stories of mental health, mental illness, of our truth, of those hard days, can really help someone know that they aren't alone, that it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to show emotion, and it's okay to ask for help and raise their hand. And it's okay to have those good days, because you also deserve those good days. Derek and Erik, they shot this video early on last summer when they got the opportunity to meet and to chat. That's why it's raining and it's not snowing, but just wanted to let you know that this video was shot on the onset of COVID. So with that, I hope you continue watching and hear their amazing stories, Derek and Erik's very incredible stories of trying to share the messages and help those around them.
Evening, everybody. Sorry about the glare, but it's about 11 o'clock at night here. It's the only time that I can catch this good-looking man. Sitting beside me here is a buddy of mine, Erik Foster. We got a unique story of how we met, so we'll get into that. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Erik.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Erik from a small town in Saskatchewan. Not a farmer, but volunteer firefighter. Big part of my community and a lot of other communities that volunteer. Me and my whole family were huge volunteer people, and we sort of live by that, helping our community and other communities. I'm a huge snowmobiler, motorcycle rider. I'm a BMX dad. I've helped run a track for the last 10 years in Saskatoon. I actually helped build the track. It's been a big part of our lives, BMX racing. Of course, my son plays hockey. I have a daughter. She's just graduated school, Walter Murray grad. She's full-time as a cook, and she might go away to school to Halifax to become a Red Seal chef.
Right on. Good for her.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how we met. It's very unique to me, and it hits home, and I know it does for Erik too, and we're hoping to both send out some messages tonight and hopefully change somebody's life. So the way that we met is a couple years ago in March. I was in the city actually getting funeral clothes for my grandma's funeral, and I was heading home on Highway 16, and I witnessed a really bad head-on collision. So I won't go into detail, of course, but it was the beginning of a long journey for me, as Eric can relate to. It's how I met Eric is he's a first responder, of course, and I was there for probably a couple hours, and I remember him walking up to me asking for a cigarette. I was sitting in my truck, and that's all I could do was smoke cigarettes and try to get the story of that night going through my head correctly so I can give the cops a statement. And so I gave him a cigarette, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm waiting to do my statement. I was first on scene." And he says, "Do you mind if I sit with you?" And I said, "Absolutely not." So he came and sat with me, and the advice he gave me really hit home, because I just thought it was a normal night, and it's something that I'll get through very easily, because I'm a strong person, I believe, and I've been through a lot, and I don't think it'll bother me. I was wrong. So the advice he gave me gave me some signs to look for PTSD, and just to cope with anyways, and I took it very personally and thought lots of him. And I remember at the end of the conversation, he says, "I work at this place in Saskatoon." He says, "Stop by anytime that you want to chat." So I don't know, probably a year goes by, and I met the manager of the store that he was working at, and I said, "I know a guy there, but I forget his name, but I need to get a hold of him." I talked about the situation, and the lady says he's no longer at the workplace. And I said, "What's going on?" And this is where it really hits home, because here, talking to him that night, he is, I'm not saying he's not, but he was almost like a hero to me, because these guys do this all the time. And from what I experienced that night, I don't wish upon my worst enemy to go through that. So anyways, just to hear the advice that he gave me and then find out what happened just really hit home, and it caused me to struggle for quite a while, actually. So tell me a little bit about that, Eric. What exactly happened that you were no longer there?
Well, he's talking about the story brings back a lot of sights, sounds, smells, taste, all that fun stuff that happens to some of us people. And what happened to me following that night was I couldn't sleep anymore for a while. And then things got really bad. So I had to make a phone call, which I got brave enough to do. And then I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, and then diagnosed with accumulative post-traumatic stress disorder. So I've lived the last just over 2 years now since that night. Night of hell. Like, there's no other words I could describe. I'm diagnosed with PTSD. 2 years later, I still have a shitload of symptoms. Some things have improved with a ton of work. Still not perfect. It's still hard to deal with. But if we could get our stories out, and if people will listen and think, maybe we could help somebody. And that's why I'm here right now, because you don't want this to happen.
No, absolutely. You're not alone. If it wasn't for this guy sitting beside me that night, I honestly don't know what I would have expected. So yeah, that night I took his advice very heavily, but I also went home. I felt like nothing really happened. I was able to sleep that night. I thought I was okay, but like I said, it was my grandma's funeral, like 2-3 days after the accident, so I had a lot of family around, and every night started getting worse. I was living in the past that night. That night was constantly on my mind, and it was like I was there still. The one thing that the cops did tell me to do is get a hold of victim services. I thought that I would give it a go, and I have to say, within minutes I had somebody on the phone, a counselor on the phone, and it was just a phone call, but she was actually saying that she would like me to come down and meet me in person, and pronto, like, come now. So at that time I felt very uncomfortable talking to somebody new, so I had a counselor that I did see previous for other stuff, So I phoned him, and he opened up his schedule, and I drove down to Lanigan, and I seen him. They take it very seriously, and it is nothing that you can hide. It's something that you can't hide, and you shouldn't hide. So it took about, I can't remember, to be honest with you, months of sleepless nights, and the accident was in my head, like I was still there, like I said. And eventually, with seeing the counselor and the things that he told me to do and he practiced with me, it started to get more and more faint, until the point where I don't think about it anymore. Once in a while it comes back to me. I drive to the city a lot, so I do pass the scene, and once in a while I'll think about it, but sometimes I don't even recognize that I passed it. So it is faint for me, but this guy here sitting beside me, it's not. And he's still, if something ever happened to somebody, he's the first person to jump in. Of course I would. Instincts I would, but I've had many thoughts of, if I ever seen that again, do I just sit in my truck and let it happen? Or, and I hate to say that, but it's not something you want to go through.
And thanks, for sharing. It's important. So some of you might be having no clue what PTSD is. So for my experience, and I'll tell you what my experience was. Again, the sleep. I lacked sleep for a long time, 1.5 years, roughly 2 hours a day. As soon as I go into REM mode, I'd wake up. So that really messed with the brain. But what I say is, most people have had a nightmare. How I relate PTSD is, you have that nightmare, you have a reaction to that nightmare. Maybe you woke up, maybe your sheets are torn off, maybe your sheets have some sweat on them. For me, with my PTSD, that nightmare was when I was sleeping and when I was awake. How do you see something when you're awake? How do you see a dream when you're sleeping and it's so vivid when you wake up? The brain is mysterious. So my brain, I saw a lot of stuff that I've seen with the cumulative factor of going to so many calls. So I, like a Rolodex, would see these things, and anything could trigger me. A child crying, a broken dish, a slamming cupboard, a smell of a burning tire. The list could go on, which triggers me to go back into these scenes, which again is like a Rolodex of photographs, smells, sights, all that fun stuff. And that's for me what PTSD is. I deal with a thing called hypervigilance. Right now, for the last year, a part of my symptoms, which has been extremely hard for me to deal with, I call it jumping out of the box syndrome. So what I deal with on a regular basis, 30, 40, lots every single day, is if something flashes in front of me where I don't see it moving, or if I hear a child cry, dish break, I get the fear of as if someone's jumping out of a box and I'm not expecting it. So my hands might jump up, I might yell, I might fall backwards. It's the overwhelming fear that goes over my body at that precise second. It's a struggle beyond struggles, because I'm a man, fire rescue. I'm a father, but right now my brain it's got a cast, and it's scared to see a patient again. It's scared to witness. It doesn't want to see that, but it still will run and help if it happens, because that's what I do. It's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm not with fire rescue right now because I'm sick. Hopes and dreams, I don't know if I'll ever go back, but maybe I could do something else. But again, this PTSD thing, it's something that happens. We all should have seen the warning signs. And this is the important thing about what we're talking about here, is knowing these warning signs of PTSD. And what I say they are is change.
Mm-hmm.
If you witness an accident, and that could be a child breaking their arm, that could be someone falling down the stairs. Everybody's trauma is their own trauma, so it can't be what my trauma was.
This is exactly, you know, the conversation that we had that night.
Is
And
it
you know,
really?
it is. It absolutely is. I don't know.
I
If
don't
you,
recall
No, you don't
really
call
much.
it, but I do. And it's the exact conversation we were having that night. It is change. He said the exact same things, and I was just yeah kind of thing, because I was sitting here thinking, oh, I'm good, man. Like, I'm strong. But you know what? 3 days later, I find myself on the phone talking to a counselor, because it happens. It's real. One question I got to ask for you, Erik, is tell the viewers, if you don't mind, how does it make you feel going into public and having people stare at you because all of a sudden you're freaking out for no reason?
Well, my therapist, she actually got me a dog. It's a Labradoodle, a new, we named her for a new beginning for me and my family, because this affects the whole family. At first, you know, I was going to get her classified as a service dog. But then, every time I walked anywhere, everyone was looking at me. Now, still, and again, I understand, it's funny to see somebody scared, but it's hard.
Yep.
I'm a strong man. I have tears. Where I used to be able to hold them tears back, they're a little bit harder to hold back now,
Absolutely.
because of that overwhelming emotion of grief, of sadness, like I wasn't good enough, and that's a battle that I deal with, and I've worked on it. This self-love thing, which is so important, but
Very important, and you hit the nail on the head. It doesn't affect just us; it affects the family, and you know, that hits home for me too, because you know, I suffer anxiety as well, but some of it is PTSD, some of it's anxiety, some of it I can't explain. But you know, I've there's times where I haven't been there for my kids because I shut down, and I don't even realize it. I sometimes get so focused on one thing that I don't even know what my surroundings are doing, and it's a terrible thing, because I try to be the best for everybody, and try to do the best for everybody, but sometimes you don't even realize it, and it's tough. It's tough, and then right away, you know, some people judge you, and that's why we're trying to get the message across. Is it is a serious thing, and we'd like to help anybody. Reach out to us if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, if you have something you want to talk to, that you just need somebody, anything, reach out to us. It's we can help, and it's a phone call is the very first thing that you can do. So one more thing, Erik, you did something this winter. Talk about that.
So, me and my son Kane, again, he's 16, he was 15 at the time, we decided to do a thing called Ride to Survive. I lost the meaning in my life. Being fire rescue gave me meaning. Helping people gave me meaning, and it meant a lot to me. Well, that's gone now. Like, I don't get to help no more. I don't get to train with the people that I train with. So we decided to do this Ride to Survive, 2,300 kilometers via snowmobile. We stopped in 18 communities while we were on our snowmobiles, and we stopped at fire halls to talk to firefighters, their families and friends about the symptoms of PTSD, where you could get some help, my story, and of course my son Kane came and told his story, because as we were talking about this, PTSD affects the whole family. While I was struggling, still is struggling. Could you imagine a 15-year-old boy running up the stairs and daddy jumping out of his slippers because he's so scared? So how that's affecting him and his behavior as being a youth, because he's trying to change that because dad's not doing well. So we've had to do a lot of adjustments, a lot of therapy, the whole family, to adapt to this new me. The one big thing that I've gotten out of all my therapy, and it's something that I do, is called check-ins, and these are very important. And I do a check-in whenever I get a spin, a flashback, whenever I get jumpy, the list goes on. Rage. If you have PTSD, you know about rage. Rage is something that builds up, your ears burn, there's so much energy you don't know what to do with. That's why I walk a lot. That's why I try to exercise as much as possible to try to burn that rage before it happens. But what we do is my check-in is, so I close my eyes, I take a couple of very deep breaths, and down in that belly, down in that soul, it's so important. Open my eyes, I look at the first 5 things I see, I point them out in my head. I do the same thing, breathing techniques, 4 things I hear, 3 things I could smell, 2 things I could touch, 1 thing I love about myself. Now this is the important thing. What we have done as my family, and I've been really spreading the word about this, is having self-awareness and self-love and self-understanding of self-love. So me and my family, what we do a lot, especially when we're sitting at dinner, is we talk about why we matter. So I will say, for instance, I matter because I have a lot of knowledge that I could help somebody else with if they're dealing with this depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress. So I'm worthy, and I'm needed, and I'm important because I have this knowledge to spread to somebody else. Now, my child might say then to me why I'm important to them, or why I matter to them, or why I'm loved by them. So we do that as a family group, and we go around to everybody. And why I think this is such a very important technique to do is because, one, everyone will recognize why we each matter. 2, we'll recognize why we matter to the other people. But 3, if something's not going right, everyone's going to notice. Everyone's going to say something.
Yep.
And once you truly have this matter, I'm important, I love myself, I matter, like I need to be here. And once you believe that, and once you truly, truly believe that, it does make your post-traumatic growth a lot better. Mm-hmm. But it also gives you that ability to have some type of worthiness.
Yeah.
Because
you have to believe in yourself. That's the first thing, is you have to believe in yourself, because if you don't, you're going to struggle.
But for me, my PTSD, I lost that belief.
Yes.
I lost that I matter, that I'm important. I didn't matter. I was no good. And that's what my brain kept telling me. I know I'm good because I trained hard. I trained so I could be the best that I could be, so that I knew how to cut that A frame, get that B frame, get that door off, get that victim, get him in that ambulance to get to that hospital. Yep. I trained. And I was. Now I'm not. And it sucks.
Yeah, no, it does. It does. It's a long journey, but that's why we're here, and hopefully we can make a change. That's a goal in my life, is to make a change, and hopefully the advice that you gave me that night, hopefully I can pass that on to somebody else. And it doesn't matter what level it is too. Like it's you're hearing our stories, and it's pretty high up there, but it doesn't matter what it is. It's not fun, and it's not fun thinking that you're alone and that people are going to judge you. And in today's world, that's what it's about. And it's not. It's make the phone call.
What happens to a lot of people is when we're alone and we're by ourselves and we're dealing with the shit that's in our head. Sometimes we drink too much. Sometimes we do too much drugs. Sometimes we just do stuff that's just not normal. That is what you have to really, really self-evaluate. And if you're trying to make a drug, an alcohol, speed, like vehicle speed, whatever, to try to make you adapt to what's going on in the brain, you need to reach out.
Yeah.
Because the alcohol, the drugs, the vehicle speed, whatever it may be, it ain't gonna last. And when it doesn't last, then you've fallen off that bridge. And we all know what happens when you hit the bottom of that bridge. And that's really, really, really what's important. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care anything. This could happen to anybody. So please, please realize, if you see something, if you feel something that's just not right, speak.
Yeah, it's never too late too. It's never too late.
I'm 53, man.
It can happen to anybody. It's amazing how that night changed my life, and it will forever. It will forever.
The chemical makeup in my brain has changed now. Like it's a fact.
Absolutely.
I've done EMD.
And just Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Like
keep
I've
going.
done EMDR, that's rapid eye movement with experimental drug. I've done so much therapy, like what WCP has done for me in therapy and stuff like that. My therapist had to come to my house, and she came to my house a couple times a week for 4 or 5 hours at a time. I didn't leave my garage for a couple of months. I used to pace between 90,000 steps a day because I couldn't get the pictures out of my head right. So again, there's a number of things that happen to us people that are dealing with this mental health. And as a family, if you have a family member, I gotta say this, through my PTSD, I had one person, and bless him and his family's heart, they probably phoned me for 6 months, if not every day, every other day, and just said, hey buddy, we're thinking about you, if you need us. And I'd always say to them, I'm okay.
Yep.
Till finally, one day, I drove to his house. Them people there right now is a part of my bond, because they had my back, man, when I was at my worst.
It means the world. It means, no,
and when you have somebody like that,
it's the first step. Yeah.
it was someone loves you and truly cares about you. They don't care how bad you are. They want to get you help.
Yep.
And so that's the people that you have to reach out to.
Yeah, absolutely.
The people that not the people that are going to say, here, have a bottle of whiskey, man, that's going to help. Not the people that are going to say, here, smoke a joint, man, that's going to take it all away. That's not the people you want to turn to when you're dealing with this shit.
No. And personally, I don't drink every day kind of thing or whatever, but it did help, and I remember you saying that night is, do you do drink quite a bit, and don't resort to that, and get help, please reach out and get help and stuff. And it's so real, it's not even funny, and it's such a coincidence of, like I said at the start of this video, is how we met, and how strong, and I couldn't wait to come talk to you and thank you because of your advice. I was going to come in and shake your hand and thank you, and just to find out, no, he's not here, he's in BC, if you don't mind me saying. He's getting help. I had to go to a treatment center in British Columbia for PTSD. It did help because I did learn how to sleep, like I am sleeping, and that is, if anything, like, I know I deal with a lot of shit, but at least I sleep. Well, I hope this gets the point across, though, is this guy was a first responder, and he was passionate about it, and he was out there to save lives, and he's sitting right beside me telling the story. So we're hoping you guys take it seriously, and if anybody needs or wants to reach out, you know how. And
I'm available too. Like, you know how to get a hold of me.
Absolutely.
If you're struggling, if anything, like, don't hesitate. Like, I know sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger, but like, I'm here, man, and you might help me by me helping you. Might sound funny, but
absolutely. And check out Ride to Survive.
Ride to Survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next year,
it's pretty cool stuff, and everyone take care out there, and thanks a lot, buddy. Take care.
Be safe.